Good evening, everyone. I am finally getting around to doing a reducing plastic waste video today, thank goodness, because I've said I'm going to do it about 1,000 times and I haven't, so I hope you are all doing it really well, and thanks for joining me today. I'm going to be doing a video on kitchen waste today, reducing kitchen plastic waste. The reason I say reducing is because I think it's important to iterate to people that trying to live zero plastic is, well, like completely zero waste, plastic waste. It's really hard to do that. It's not impossible, but aside from going and living in a wood in the middle of nowhere and being completely self-sufficient, it's incredibly hard to do. So when I say plastic free living or things like that, I take that as a loose term because it is really hard to do. I made a mistake a few years ago when I started getting really self-conscious of my own contributions to plastic waste, and I started getting really concerned about it, and I started getting into trying to reduce my own plastic waste. I got into it so seriously, and then I'd just be so overwhelmed if I did something that was, gonna be using plastic. I'd be like, oh my god, what am I doing? And I'd feel really guilty if I bought something that was in plastic. So I don't want other people to feel like that, because it is a really hard thing to try and do. And it's also important to state that your ability to reduce your plastic waste is not solely dependent on yourself. It's also dependent on your location, your local facilities, and your abilities. So, for example, somebody who perhaps has any kind of disability may require certain things that either are plastic or come in plastic, and it's completely unavoidable. You might live in an area where it's very difficult to obtain items that don't come in plastic or that are plastic, and depending on your budget, you may that may affect what you can and can't do, because a lot of products that are plastic free alternatives to plastic items that are already in production. So if you get a company that comes up with an alternative to something that's already in circulation, so like, I don't know, you have a plastic dish brush, and then an eco company comes along and goes, right, I'm going to create a non-plastic version of that. Because of the cost behind the production, and that it's not the norm, it's obviously, plastic is a lot easier to get hold of, it's mass produced, it's very cheap to produce, which is why so many companies use it. It's very high production costs to produce these non-plastic items, and so they have to pass that cost onto the consumer. Otherwise, these businesses would cease to exist. They'd go out of business. So it's often more expensive. It's not always more expensive to use plastic-free items. A lot of the time, it is. So I just wanted to stress that before I get stuck into the video, that I don't feel guilty about, if you can't get hold of things that are plastic free, don't beat yourself up about it. I think that as much as we as individuals need to take some responsibility and accountability for what we use and our own contribution to the plastic problem, I think that there's also a lot of accountability on bigger companies. Because they're the ones with the money, they're the ones that are producing the stuff. And it's this chicken and egg scenario of like supply, demand, supply, what comes first. But I think that if companies actually made plastic-free items more accessible, more affordable, then I think you would see a huge increase in consumers using those items over the plastic items. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there before I get stuck into it. I also want to say that anything I showed you today, are things that they're things that I personally use. They may not work for you. I'm just sharing these as ideas, it's an education video in case people perhaps are starting on their plastic-free journey and they don't quite know where to start. This is not a Bible thing. This is not like you must do this, you must follow this. This is just what I do. So if it doesn't work for you, that's absolutely fine. And you know, anything that I state on the video is just purely what I do. So if you do something in a different way, that's absolutely fine too. So I just wanted to get all of those disclaimers out of the way first before I start. So I'm going to concentrate on kitchen items today because plastic-free living is a huge topic, and it's going to be something that I'm going to do as a sort of like breakdown. So I will do like one video on kitchen things, and I'll do one video on bathroom things, etc. So I'm starting on kitchen today as my first video in this topic. Specifically on everyday cleaning items. I'm not doing food because that's a whole other topic, and I could talk about that for hours, and I want to try and keep these videos relatively brief because I do have a habit of waffling on. So for any of you who watch my videos regularly, you will know that I'm a big waffler. So yeah, I'm not really going to include food in this, but this is more just cleaning items and general items that you might use around your kitchen. So I'm going to start off with citric acid. This is produced by a company called DP, which is Dry Pack. It's very readily available in Britain. I'm not sure about the UK as a whole, but in Britain it is certainly readily available. You can usually find this in most some hardware shops. You can find it in, I think they sell it in B&M. They do sell it in Home Bargains. I know they definitely sell it in there. But most sort of supermarkets, cleaning aisles will sell the Dry Pack brands. The reason I like Dry Pack is because they do a wide range of cleaning products that are not only better for the environment, but are also, not always, but most of the time plastic free. So for example, this is in a cardboard box. Some of their products are in plastic because their sole purpose as a company is not to produce plastic-free products. They're a family-run business that have been running for a long time, many decades, and their aim is more to stick to things that are more natural-based and traditional. I would say traditional cleaning products. That's the way I view the company anyway. That they try to aim their stuff at traditional. So citric acid can be used, it says on here that it can be used for as a general cleaner. You can dissolve some of this powder into water and use it as a general cleaner, or put it into a trigger spray bottle. You can put it in your washing machine, and you can use it for descaling your kettle if there's any limescale build-up. You could use it in your dishwasher. You can use it for cleaning, it says on here, you're cleaning your kettles. You can descale your iron with it. You can just use it as a general cleaner. As with anything, you know, obviously do a little test area first just in case, but it's a fairly, I mean, citric acid is a natural product, so it should be okay on most things, but just do a test first in case. But this is a very good product because it can be used on so many different things in a variety of ways. So that's why I like it, because of the versatility. It's relatively cheap for a box, and it comes in cardboard. Dry Pack also, their products are not tested on animals, so that's something else I would say, is that I wherever possible, and unless I've accidentally bought something, I'm like 99.9% of like what I use is cruelty free, because I don't like using products that are tested on animals. So that's citric acid, general cleaner there. I'm going to talk about the soap. Just another thing to say, because I mentioned earlier that not everything can be plastic free, so some of this is going to be plastic, but it's about using plastic in the best way possible. So reusing where possible, using plastic that's been recycled prior to being used and that is recyclable again, so that kind of thing. This pack of soap, Sunlight soap, for those of you who are my age and even generations much older than me, will probably recognise the name Sunlight. Sunlight is an extremely old brand of soap. It's been going, I believe, since the late Victorian period and certainly since the early 20th century. It's a very good, tried and trusted soap brand. It is currently owned by Unilever. Unilever, very contentious brand because lots of people don't like them because they're a huge corporate company and they've bought out lots of other companies. But they don't test on animals, so I don't personally take issue with Unilever. I mean, Unilever, they cover all sorts of things. They even own food brands like Marmite. So I don't personally have a problem with Unilever. Sunlight soap is, again, a versatile product because you can use this on washing, your hands, but you can also use it to rub onto cuffs and collars if you've got stains. Use it as like a pre-treatment. And then you can also, if you home make your own washing detergent, this is the kind of soap that you can use to grate up to use as a homemade laundry detergent. So you can actually grate this and put it in your washing machine drawer. So again, a nice versatile product. This does come in plastic on the outside. But soft plastics can be recycled at places like Tesco, for example. But obviously you can also buy soap that doesn't come in, it's because it's a multi-pack. If you buy individual bars of soap in the shop, they often come just wrapped in paper. So bars of soap are good for hand washing and having by the side of your sink rather than using something that comes in a pump. And moving on to that, I've got one here that isn't a pump. This is a brand called Neat. They're relatively new to the market. I would say that they've probably been around maybe a couple of years now, or that at least that's how long I've seen them around for. I'm not sure about other supermarkets, but I do know that this is stocked in Tesco. And what I like about Neat is they have started expanding out into other products as well. So they do washing up. You can buy one of these where you squirt washing up liquid onto a sponge for dishwashing. So it's like a dishwashing pump. And they've also now brought out things like a floor cleaner, I believe. So they are expanding. But this is a hand wash. I really like the aesthetic of this product. It comes with this silicone, which is removable, a silicone base, just so it doesn't scratch like the aluminium, because this is an aluminium container, so it doesn't scratch your surfaces. And it looks really nice, very simplistic, very modern, contemporary look. And basically it comes in a tiny little, the refills, they come in a tiny little glass jar about this big, super concentrated. They do really lovely scents. This one I think is fig and mango. And you basically pour that concentrated liquid into here. And then on the back it tells you what waterline to fill up to. And then it creates, you give it a shake and it creates a hand soap. It's a very lightweight foam consistency, this one. And the reason I have this is I personally am a bar soap user, but I know that some people don't like using bars of soap. So I have this by my kitchen sink in case I have guests over and they would prefer to use a hand pump soap. So that's why I have that one. This is one of the examples where it can be more pricey. They are, as I say, a relatively new brand, and because they're doing something different, and you've got to also think of production costs. Metal is not a cheap product to work with, so it's these are more expensive to produce than plastic. And then you've got to think, I mean, there are plastic components here, but this is meant to be, bottle for life, unless obviously it breaks. But as long as you take care of this, there's no reason why this can't last you for years and years. Because of the higher production costs, they have to pass that on to the consumer. So this is not cheap. So again, if you're somebody that can't afford this, then a bar soap might be a more cheaper option for you, because bar soaps are so cheap. You can pick up a bar of soap for like 50p in pound shops and stuff like that. So that's just another alternative if you didn't like bar soap. I also know that some people have got skin sensitivities and perhaps don't use bar soap for that reason, because it can be quite drying. Although I would say that if you stick to bars of soap that contain glycerin, they are very, very soothing on the skin. You could also go for bars of soap that contain things like oat milk or goat's milk, if if you're not vegan, and things like honey. Those kinds of ingredients, they would be very nourishing on the skin. So it might be the kind of soap you're using is harsh. So perhaps look into that if you have any sensitivities. So that's bars of soap, and then we've had the cleaning products. Going on to washing up liquid. There's a company called Minimal, and this is a glass bottle, and again you can buy refills for this. To me, I live in Lincolnshire, and I can get this in quite a few of the discount shops in my county, so it's something you need to look out for. I've not seen it in lots of places, but they also do this online on Amazon if you want this brand. But yeah, this is again, it's supposed to be something that you keep and refill, and it's washing up liquid. This one is wild rhubarb and lemon. The reason I like the Minimal brand is because they are British made, and they are 100% vegan formulas and cruelty free, which it says along the bottom there. Excuse my chip nail varnish. So that is a refillable washing up liquid that you can buy. As I say, the Neat brand have now brought out a washing up liquid as well. You can also make your own. If you buy soap nuts, you can actually, soap nuts are a natural nut literally from a tree, and I believe they are grown mostly in Asia. And you can buy those on Amazon, and they come in a bag. You can boil them, and once the water's cooled down, you can siphon that water off into a container or something like this, and just pump a few bits into the water. That creates natural suds. Soap nuts are not going to be as effective on really heavy greasy items, so like baking pans, baking trays and stuff like that. But for general washing up, I have used them in the past, and they're okay for things like dishes and cups and plates. The only problem with soap nuts is, I would say, that because they've become a bit more of a trend over in the West over the recent years, they've now started getting the farmers over in the East to produce more of them, and it's taking away the resources from people in remote villages who actually rely on these soap nuts. So if you do decide to buy soap nuts, I would just check that the company has a statement on like where they source them from, and that they make sure that they're not, because some companies will actually state that they pay the workers good wages, and that they ensure that they're not eradicating the entire source, so that there are some left for the locals. So just something to be mindful of. But they are very effective for general washing up soap nuts. You can also use them as a laundry detergent. I can put soap nuts into a bag, a little bag, just get like a little cotton cloth bag, put the soap nuts, about 5 or 6 of them per wash load, and do the drawstring bag up. If you buy soap nuts for laundry washing, usually it comes with the bag, but any little cotton bag with a drawstring will do. And tie it up, and you just bung it in the drum, and that will wash your clothes. So that's another tip for you. Let me go on to some cleaning items. This is by a company called One Green Bottle. But I'm sure you can get lots of different ones like this. This is literally a bottle cleaner. These are natural bristles rather than plastic. And then, I mean, there is a plastic component there, but again, this is about reducing plastic waste, not being perfect. You've got metal, and then you've got sustainable bamboo. I use this for obviously cleaning bottles, but any kind of sort of hard to reach areas you could use this for. So you could think about getting something like that. There's another type of brush here, which is a dishwashing brush. I rarely use this because I personally am more of a washcloth or a dishcloth girl. I like to use a dishcloth for my washing up. But if you're someone that prefers a brush, again, you can get these online. They do them on Amazon. You can get them in plastic-free, sustainability shops. They sell them more widely now in some supermarkets, not all, but I have started to see them creeping into some supermarkets. I think they even do them in places like B&M now. And basically, once the bristles are completely plant-based, and then once the bristles become too worn out, too used, you can change the head. So the head will literally just pop off like that. And you can buy these on their own. And then you keep this part and you can just change them. Just change the head over. There you go, that's on. So that is another idea for you. This particular dish brush head is by a company, I don't know if that's going to show up on camera, it's quite faded because I've used it a lot, but it's called Eco Living. And again, you can find those on Amazon, I believe. So dishwashing brush if you prefer that. Cleaning scrubbies, you know, the plastic, you know, for washing up, some people like to use those, what do you call them, the sponges, where they're like yellow soft foam on one side and then the other side is typically green, like a green hard scrubbing material. So that's for like stubborn stains or stubborn marks on your dishes. And then the other side is soft sponge. Those are incredibly bad for the environment because you think how many millions are produced across the world, and people use them for a few weeks or a few months and then they just discard them. And these are the kinds of things that are ending up either being incinerated or put in landfill or ending up in our oceans. They are being found in our oceans, these little scrubbies. And I mean, years ago, before I didn't know any better, I used to use them, but I've not used them for many years now. And there are alternatives that you can use. As an example, these ones are from B&M. I've got one, it was a pack of 2, but I've already got one in use at the moment. £2.50 for a pack of 2. And these are made of jute, which is a natural material, as you can see, just a little scrubby. So this is a good alternative for, you know, getting rid of those tough marks when you're washing up, or you can even use them for cleaning. So yeah, just try to avoid, if you can, the ones that are green on one side and yellow foam on the other, because they're so bad. And because they're the norm, I mean, there are millions that are discarded every year because they are the general go-to that people have, that perhaps just don't know any different. So there are alternatives out there if you want to try and switch up to something else. And another thing that you can use as an alternative, which is, it's a good, look, I'm not gonna sort of say bad things about a company that are trying and that are trying to go in the right direction. I think that should be encouraged. So this is a good example of an in-between product where there's still some plastic, but they're trying to make an improvement. These are M&S, and they are recycled sponge scourers. So these look a little bit more like what you might be used to, where they'd be like yellow on one side and green on the other. Now this is still made with sponge, but if you see there are lots of like bits inside, little lumpy bits, that's because this is all recycled foam. So all of this is, yes, it's yes, it's made of plastic, but it's all recycled. And then this side, which is the scrubby side, is made of a natural, I think it's called Seasol, which is similar to like this material. So that's kind of a half and half, but you can actually see separate chunks of foam in there where they basically compressed all little recycled pieces of foam together into making a scrubby shape. So there are alternatives like this as well. Obviously, once this has come to the end of its life, it will end up going in the bin, but at least the foam part already had a previous life and a previous use, and then it's been made into something to be used again. So that's still better than using the green ones. Pack of 3 from M&S. Now I bought these over a year ago and I'm on the second one and I've got one left. Will I buy them again? Probably not. But they, you know, they're still better than the green ones, so that's another alternative for you. Silicone. Now, silicone obviously is a plastic, but it's incredibly versatile. It can be incredibly long lasting if you keep it and reuse it and reuse it. Because again, sometimes it's not about oh God, I own something that's plastic, but it's about how you use it and whether you reuse it. And this is a little brush cleaner for bottles, a bit like this one that I showed you earlier, but this one obviously is for much tighter spaces. This is ideal for straws. So for example, I've got my drink here and I clean this straw using this because there's nothing else that can fit down there otherwise. And you have to be really careful. This is, I mean, I won't go on to this because I said that I wouldn't talk about food and drink, but if you are using reusable straws, make sure that you are cleaning them properly because bacteria will harbour inside there and then you're drinking it and you can get ill doing that. So be very careful to clean your straws really thoroughly, which is why I got myself one of these. I got this off of Amazon. It was only a couple of pounds. So that's another idea for you. Toothbrushes. You might be thinking, Liz, this is to do with the kitchen, not to do with the bathroom. But this is an old plastic toothbrush of mine. And I switched over to bamboo toothbrushes, which I won't talk about now because that's not this video. But I keep an old plastic toothbrush so that it has another purpose. And I use it for cleaning tight spaces. So particularly effective around the base of your taps in the kitchen, or cleaning like the actual spout itself where the water comes out of, giving that a good old scrub. Tight corners, you know, where the maybe on your kitchen floor where your floor meets with the kickboards and you want to get into the tight little corners, or tiles, the grout of your tiles if you have a tiled wall. So they're handy to keep for that reason. And again, I mean, obviously at some point, yes, it is going to eventually end up either incinerated or in landfill. But if you can reuse a plastic toothbrush, if you use plastic toothbrushes, please try to keep them for cleaning once they're no longer being used for your teeth, because it just keeps it keeps them in circulation that little bit longer, and every little bit helps if you can try and keep it out of landfill for a bit longer. So they're very good for cleaning. Another scrubby, since I'm going through all of like the brushes and the scrubbies at the moment, one final one that I will go through is this. This is a nail brush. This is that Eco Living company again. You can see the logo better this time. This is a nail brush. Again, these are natural bristles. One side is a bit smaller, which is good for getting under your nails. I actually use this for cleaning as well as for my nails. I use the bigger side for scrubbing dishes sometimes. If I've got something that, because these bristles are quite soft, so they're not as effective for really stubborn stains. But this is very, very firm. So if I've got something really stubborn, sometimes I'll use this side and then I keep that side for my nails. But I just have this by my kitchen sink. So if I've been in the garden and I've got really grubby nails with like soil underneath my fingernails, I use one of these. Again, you know, because these are made of natural fibres and then this is wood, this can degrade down completely, whereas the plastic ones obviously can't. So that's another good thing to have in your kitchen. And then moving on to, well, this isn't really kitchen, it's kind of generally around the home, but dusting. I want to just talk briefly about dusting. I use one of these noodle dusters as well as a dusting cloth. This is an extendable one, only cost a couple of quid. I think it was from B&M. I had to buy a new one recently because my old one broke. In fact, I think this was in one of my videos, but what I like about these is, I mean, yes, again, you've got a bit of plastic there, but this is metal, which is infinitely recyclable. And then with these microfiber heads, they're elasticated there. So you can take this off when it gets dirty and just bung it in the washing machine, wash it, put it back on. So it's about reusing. So try and buy things that are, if you are going to buy things that are not plastic free, because I expect that this is probably made of polyester, try and buy things that can be reused, because I've seen some dusters out there that are like one-time use dusters where you just buy them, you know, you use them for dusting the home and then you just stick them in a bin. And I'm like, how wasteful is that? Just have something that you can reuse. You can buy feather dusters, which obviously is the more traditional expression, and that's because they literally used to be made of feathers before materials like this came along. Now, I would be careful with those it's not something that I see much anymore. In fact, I can't remember the last time I saw a feather duster in the shops. I think they've moved away from that and tend to just use man-made fibres now. I can remember when I was a kid, my mum had a feather duster, a proper feather duster. Beautiful. It was actually really beautiful because the feathers used were all vibrant colours. So it's obviously come from some kind of, I don't know, tropical bird or something. But that's probably why we don't see them anymore. I haven't done any research into it, to be honest. That's probably going to be something on my brain now. I'm going to go down a rabbit hole and research into why feather dusters aren't used anymore. But yeah, I would just err on the side of caution with that, because if you do care about animal welfare, you might want to check where the feathers are being sourced from, because if they're being plucked specifically for the product, big no-no. If they're feathers that are left over from the meat industry and it's using as much of the animal as possible, then depending on your personal views, that might be more acceptable to you, but just take note of that. Another thing to use is just cloth. Just use plain cloth. This is 100% cotton. So again, it's a natural material. If I'm buying cloths, I try to make sure that I'm buying ones that are cotton, because a lot of them are polyester or a blend. So I buy ones that are 100% cotton. And just dust with that, and then just stick it in the washing machine. When it gets dirty, just stick it in the washing machine, like you can do with this. So that's dusting. Sticking with cloths, going back to washing up again, and you know I said I prefer to use a cloth for washing up. This is my washing up cloth, so excuse me if it's a little bit stained. I have actually just bleached it yesterday, so it shouldn't be too bad. There is a bit of a stain on it there, but this is cotton. Again, it's a cotton dishcloth. This was actually handmade. There is a shop near me called the Soap Shack, and the person that owns the shop, I think she said like her mother makes them for her shop, and she makes these little cloths. Now obviously you can use it for cleaning, you can use it for anything you want, but I personally use it as a dishcloth. It's incredibly durable, really thick knit, so it's going to last a long time, and it just means that when you're washing up, the little microfibers that come off, they're not going to be producing microplastics that are going to go into the waterways. Because again, if you use a cloth that, you know, I was saying about if you use the green scrubbies, the traditional scrubbies that look like that, but they're the green plastic ones, all those little microplastics are coming off into the water every time you wash up. Same with a cloth that might be made of polyester. So try and use a cotton cloth. I use a dishcloth. I find that it just works fine on washing up. And again, you could use it in conjunction with a brush if you want to. But yeah, with mine, I bleach it fairly regularly to make sure that it stays, you know, free of bacteria. But I can also bung it in the washing machine and stick it on a hot wash, and that'll keep it clean and free of grease as well. Mine's been well used, so even though I bleach it, it's at the stage now where stains still don't completely come out, but it's not dirty. So, you know, and some people don't like using cloths because they say, oh, it's really old-fashioned and it's really dirty, but it's really not. I've used cloths my whole life. My mum used cloths before me. My nan used cloths before her. No one's ever died from using a washing up cloth, so just bear that in mind. I think I've shown you all of that. Oh, soap. You know, I said about soap. I'll just quickly show you this. This is a big lump of soap that I keep by my kitchen side. I just wanted to show you it because it's a different brand. This is a Savon Marseille. Basically soap from Marseille. I can't pronounce it properly in French. Is it Marseille? Marseille in France, and it is 100% vegetable-based soap. It's olive oil, so it's very soothing on the skin. It comes in a very large piece, as you can see, and again, because it's so big, you could grate that to use for laundry detergent. You could, it's 300 grams, it says on the side. You could grate that to use for laundry detergent. You can use it for your hands. You can wash your clothes with it. Some people, you know, do use it to wash their clothes because it's so gentle. So again, it's another versatile soap that you can buy. It's not tested on animals, and again, I think you can buy it on Amazon. Don't see it in the shops very often, but you can get it online. I just keep it in a little enamel dish, and I use one of those little scrubbies at the bottom, because you do not want soap sitting in water, because it would just make it go all mushy and horrible. So that sits in there. But yeah, Savon Marseille is a brand to look out for, because their soaps are just 100% natural and they're versatile. So that's why I wanted to show you that. See, moving on to a product that is not so plastic free. But again, I want to talk about that difference between doing your best or trying to do a better switch to a better alternative. It's not always about being completely plastic free. Wipes. Wipes are incredibly popular these days. People use them for everything. They use them for wiping their kids' mouths. I mean, obviously not this type because they're for cleaning, but you know, people use baby wipes. People use wipes for cleaning, for going around the whole home. Wiping down toilet seats, wiping sinks down. Instead of using like a traditional bathroom cleaner, you might just use wipes. These are for the kitchen. Am I a fan of wipes? No. Up until recently, they were made from plastics. And again, that's another reason why I hated them, because baby wipes and cleaning wipes, like household cleaning wipes, were not plastic free. And because they're so convenient and they're cheap and you get a lot of them in a pack, again, they become very widely used. And that's a lot of plastic. These wipes are ending up in the ocean. So I have a big thing about wipes, and for what you use wipes for to clean with, there is nothing wrong with just using a cloth and some water, or some cloth, a cloth and like a cleaning spray that you can get refilled. So I'm not a massive fan of them. The reason I have a packet is because I am a human being. I'm not perfect, and they are handy. I very rarely use them, but now that they've started doing biodegradable ones and turning away from the, I mean, these are just Aldi's own brand, so they're very cheap. But Aldi's own brand cleaning products are also cruelty free, by the way, in case you didn't know. They have the Leaping Bunny logo on, in case anyone didn't know that. But yeah, these are zero plastic wipes, biodegradable. So these aren't as bad, to the best of my knowledge. They are antibacterial, non-bleach ones, so they're good to use for surfaces around the kitchen because they're bleach free. But you can use them anywhere. It says you can use them kitchen, bathroom, toilet, shower screens, etc. I just wanted to show them because even I buy things that are in plastic. The wipes themselves are plastic free, but obviously this comes in plastic. But if you look at soft plastics, you will often see on the back, it should tell you whether it's recyclable. These ones are. It says you can recycle at a recycling point, don't recycle at home. So these won't be curbside recycling, but you can recycle them at usually big supermarkets. I have a plastic bag in my conservatory that I keep, and I use that to fill up with soft plastics for recycling that can't be recycled at home, because there is a surprising amount of plastic, soft plastic, from food packaging, food waste, that doesn't get recycled by my local council at least, and I can't put it in the bin. So that would be a lot of plastic that would otherwise end up just going in the landfill bin. So I save it up, and once my bag is full, I take it down and I get rid of it all at Tesco. Please look out for that symbol. If you do buy things that are in plastic like this, there should be a label like that on the back telling you whether it can be recycled or not. More and more companies are moving to plastics like this now, rather than ones that say non-recyclable. So again, it's progress. But I just wanted to show you those because even I am not perfect. I have them for very occasional use. Another reason that I wanted to mention these is because if you are someone who has a disability and you might find cleaning difficult, and you can only do like a small amount at a time, for example, or you struggle to hold things there could be a myriad of reasons why you might find cleaning in general quite difficult. You might struggle to hold a trigger spray, for example, if you've got arthritis or something like that. These would be really handy for someone who struggles with using their hands. So, you know, sometimes we don't have any choice. So that's another reason I wanted to mention these. But yeah, they are convenient just for quick wiping round. Now, I don't have a problem with my hands, but because I do have a disability and I do suffer with chronic pain, cleaning for me can be challenging. And if I'm having a particularly bad day and my cleaning ability is limited that day, I might whiz round with one of these because it's quicker and just get a little bit of cleaning done rather than not doing any at all. So sometimes I will use them if I'm just not very good with my back and I need to do a bit of cleaning and I don't really have the energy to get out a proper brush and get on my hands and knees and be scrubbing things. So there you go. Moving on to trigger sprays. For the kitchen sides, worktops or countertops if you're in America, but we tend to say worktops here in the UK. This is an antibacterial spray and it comes in a refill pot. Well done Tesco for starting to do these. And again, I'm seeing more and more brands starting to do refillables. So you think, again, a bottle like this might last you, a couple of weeks. If you're a large family, you might buy one of these and within a few weeks, you've gone through it. Or if you're a real clean freak, you might go through one of these in a few days, I don't know. So they are now starting to bring out these refillables. Keep the bottle. Doesn't have to be, obviously, that bottle. It can be any bottle, doesn't matter, you know. And this is basically a little capsule. It's, you know, like the laundry detergent pods where it's liquid and then they dissolve in the washing machine. It's made of the same thing. So this is like a squidgy little pod and it will dissolve in water. These are in the cleaning aisle in Tesco and they are next to the bottle. So you can still obviously buy the bottles, but you'll find these next to it. And this bottle is really old. I've had this for a couple of years now because I use the same bottle and I just buy the refills. The other good thing about these, Tesco, by the way, don't test on animals. They're cleaning products, and the good thing about these is that they are incredibly lightweight. They don't take up a lot of space in your cupboard. And because they're so small, it means, again, thinking the bigger picture, distribution-wise, when Tesco are distributing these to the stores, can you imagine if they stopped selling these, the weight difference between this and the space difference between this and this in lorries where they're in transit? If everyone just switched to these instead of these, think of the difference it would make in the amount of lorries on our roads and the amount of fuel being consumed. So all these things have a big knock-on effect. It's not just about that this is plastic, it's about the wider picture. So they do these for other products as well. They do bathroom cleaner, they do kitchen cleaner that has a bleach in if you don't want one this is an anti-bac multi-purpose. I buy this because it's safe to use on my worktops, but they do a specific kitchen cleaner and I think that one has bleach in it. But yeah, they do bathroom and they even do like a window and glass cleaner. So yeah, this is an option for you if you are on a budget as well, because these are very cheap. These are under £1. So if you're spending over £1, or, you know, the bigger brands that come in spray bottles like Cillit Bang or Cif or, you know, the bigger brand ones, they might be charging like a couple of quid for one of these. These are under £1. I think they're like 75p or 79p, something like that. And they'll fill up this again. So that's another option for you for cleaning spray around your countertops. But you can also use this obviously on your kitchen doors and stuff like that. Spot cleaning. And then lastly was, I think I've gone through everything on it. Yeah, that was it. Apart from, let me just bend down and get this. Laundry detergent. I keep mine in this. Now you don't have to obviously keep yours in something like this. It's just because I like the size of it. It fits in my kitchen cupboard under the sink quite nicely. It also goes with my kitchen decor. I use a powder, and it's just a normal laundry detergent powder, just like this, just a normal powder like that. Laundry powders I use because they come in cardboard packaging, and again, cardboard is just infinitely recyclable and biodegradable. It's going to degrade down into nothing, but they can also recycle it into a mulch and then reuse it. So that's why I prefer that. Some people use detergent pods, like I was saying, that are like that. Detergent pods that dissolve in the washing machine. They often come in plastic boxes. And again, you know, you often can't get that many wash loads in those. One of those might be only enough for a 15 wash load or a 30 wash load, which is not a lot of washing. If you're a big family, you might do several wash loads a week. So that's a lot of plastic you're going through. So try to stick to washing powder because they come in cardboard boxes rather than the plastic tubs. Now, I do believe that the companies that make the pods are now starting to move away from the plastic tubs, and they're starting to put them into cardboard packaging. I have seen them in cardboard packaging. The bigger brands like Bold and Ariel and Surf and that, they are now making them in cardboard boxes. So if they're moving away from the plastic tubs, then that's fantastic. There is a brand called Smol, S-M-O-L, that you can actually have delivered to you, and like on a subscription basis. They do all different cleaning products, including laundry detergent. But I just stick to typical laundry detergent. I did used to make my own, as I think I mentioned earlier, but it's quite time consuming doing that, and for ease I've just gone back to a commercial shop bought detergent, but I do stick with the cardboard based powders. The one I'm using at the moment, just so you know, because I think it's a really good one, so I want to share it. There's a brand called Easy, and it's just spelt the normal way, E-A-S-Y, Easy, and you can get it in, I've seen it in the range, and you can also get it in Home Bargains. The reason I want to mention it is because it's a British made company, so again, it's not being like imported from somewhere else. So again, thinking about that sort of the shipping and the intensive resources that uses up. It's British made, and it's cruelty free. It works really well. I'm happy with it. It does a good job on all of my clothes, and it comes in a box that is, I didn't bring it in with me because it's really big, so that's why I had to camp it into my smaller container because that fits in my kitchen cupboard. It comes in a big 75 wash cardboard box like this, and it's only, I think it's gone up recently, but I think it's under £7. It's about £6. It's either like £5 or £6.50, something like that. It's relatively cheap, but it's 75 washes. So if you are on a budget, I recommend that one. And like I said, you can get it in Home Bargains, and I think B&M might do it, but I know Home Bargains definitely do. And the range, I've seen it in the range. But like I say, it's a huge box, 75 wash. So it's great for large families, and it's cheap. It's cruelty free. It smells nice. The scent is also quite long lasting on the clothes, and it comes in cardboard, so it's good for the planet. So that's why I wanted to mention that particular brand. And yeah, that's it for this one. There are probably more products that I can think of to talk about, but we're at 48 minutes now, so I'm going to wrap this up. I hope it's been really helpful for you. Please let me know if you have enjoyed it in the comments. If you have enjoyed this kind of content, then I will do some more videos on trying to reduce plastic waste. And like I say, I can move on to different parts of the home. I could talk about the bathroom. I can talk about makeup, personal products, you know, like moisturizers and lotions and potions and stuff like that. So yeah, let me know. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will be doing another haul video soon to show you some autumnal things that I've got. So watch this space. If you did like the video, please give me a thumbs up and like and subscribe. Thank you ever so much and take care. Speak to you soon. Bye.